Welcome to the BTS Presents show.
I'm Brian Schulman, I'm the producer. We're currently doing segments on Santa Cruz County and Silicon Valley real estate behind the scenes. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Candace Bradfield, broker and owner of Bradfield & Associates, and past president of our Santa Cruz County Association of Realtors. I want to thank you for joining BTS Presents.
Good evening. I'm Dada Kalsa, broker and owner of Main Street Realtors, and welcome to our show. We have a panel of 7 guests with us tonight, and we're going to discuss various issues facing Santa Cruz County, loosely centered around housing. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We'll start with Nita Hertel. She's a property owner and a supporter of rent control. And as you're probably aware, rent control, they're collecting signatures for the ballot, and I believe tomorrow is the deadline to find out whether or not they got enough signatures, and then they'll need 30 days to certify. So if you care to share a little bit of some of the, I guess, the history and kind of the progress of that campaign and how you became a part of it.
Well, after the election that we were all so thrilled about, we got together as a community at Loudon Nelson, and it was people from all different organizations. And one of the upshots of it was feeling like we needed to feel more united as a community and try to heal some of this divisiveness. And so what we did, an outshot of that was we started what was called the Neighborhood Organizing Circle, and we started walking neighborhoods in Santa Cruz. And not with the idea of selling anything, but with the idea of asking people, what's important to you? What do you want to see the city do? What's on the top of your list of concerns that you have? And by far, housing and the high cost of housing was just way over everything else as the main concern that people had. And so we started walking the Lower Ocean neighborhood first, because it's considered by the city one of the more blighted and needy neighborhoods. Just talking to folks, and they were concerned about safety and about traffic, but housing costs. And so we started taking that seriously and got together with other groups to form a coalition of people putting together the initiative to try to do something to approach the housing issue, and rent control was what we felt like was important. And
you are a property owner? I'm
a property owner.
So
I've been here 38 years, and I rented for a long time, and I always had great rental situations and was very fortunate. But as the housing costs have gone crazy, I see more and more people really suffering. And in walking the streets and just talking to people before we even had the initiative, it broke my heart to talk to people, to hear what their rental situation was and how vulnerable they are, and that they're like this close to being on the street. And we have a horrible homeless problem, as we all know. And so many people, from single parents to working people that just are on a very tight budget, they're scared, and they won't talk out to landlords to have things fixed because they're afraid of being evicted if they do find something as a problem. So we just felt like we had to do something to try to alleviate this problem, and I don't want to see people that I care about and see Santa Cruz become something that it hasn't been, which is a place where only rich people could live.
Yeah. So you're a property owner. How many properties do you own? How many tenants?
I just live in my own property.
And do you rent to somebody or not?
No. Okay. I mean, I have housemates.
Got it.
I have housemates.
And how long ago did you purchase your property?
22 years ago.
Okay. So yeah, housing prices have changed a little in that time.
Yeah.
So it's been rough on owners too.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. I guess I feel like that's a really complicated issue.
It takes, I think, something like only 18% of people in this county can afford to buy a place, because the median's over 800. I think it crossed the 900,000 mark.
I can't even imagine it's
crazy.
18%.
Isn't that?
Is
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's somewhere in that range. It's amongst the least affordable, certainly. And this is a nationwide problem. So it's cool that we get the local perspective for the viewers. So thanks for being here and sharing how you got involved. And then next over, we have Richard Miller. He's our Silicon Valley connection, being the sole member of the panel that's not a local per se, but thank you for sharing from that. So you're in the mortgage business. How does this all tie into your involvement here?
Oh gosh. Well, it ties into me personally. I will share a story on what I experienced. I'm from Hawaii, and I had this beautiful home. And my son came to me one day and said, "Dad, I have 4 dear friends who was living in an abandoned condominium, 4 of them high school students, and their parents couldn't afford the rent. But they told their kids, hey, you got to find your own way." So he came up to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I want to ask you if they can live with us."
Wow.
And I said, "Sure." You know, my son is just a giving kind of guy. I said, "Sure, they can come stay with me." And it's been that way for a number of years in Hawaii. Affordability. I've become an advocate for affordable housing. I've become an advocate as a spokesperson for a lot of these individuals that will not speak up because they're afraid of being kicked out. Well, I'm not afraid of facing these individuals and having that true discussion. As a person living over the hill, I've gone to numerous meetings, city council meetings. I've talked to city council members, having that discussion. And it goes back to not in my backyard, as an example, or yes, in my backyard, but here are the restrictions. And these individuals that are looking for a place to live or to have stability in their life, which we all should be there to make a contribution to help them, they're not as fortunate as we are. This horrible thing about going in circles and never finding a solution. You know, so I thought I would be here today just to offer my little tidbit of what I've seen, who I've come into contact with.
And obviously what you've done. I mean, welcomed people into
Yes,
your own
well, you
home.
know, I as a lender, and I'm an advocate for affordable housing, I've met with them time and time again and asking that question, renters, well, why do you want to move out? Well, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Where do you want to live? Well, I can't live here. So they say, I gotta move 2.5 hours out just to find something affordable.
Yeah. Well, and then it gets into traffic impact issues and
Absolutely.
and so on.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting you mentioned the YIMBY movement, and we happen to have Evan Soroki, the founder of Santa Cruz YIMBY. I'll jump a few and come back to
Thank you.
our other panelists. Thank you. Do you want to speak a little bit about the YIMBY movement, what it represents, and how you got involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Santa Cruz YIMBY, we're part of the YIMBY movement, as you say, which is a counter to the not in my backyard sentiment. We are advocating for more housing construction throughout Santa Cruz County. And we do that by going to city, county meetings and also to state meetings, advocating for policies that will create more housing. And also we advocate for specific projects that will hopefully get passed and get built.
So when you say advocate, do you have legal counsel on staff? And do you go to that level, or?
Well, we at a statewide level, we have started one, but usually it means going to city meetings when there is a project that is on the agenda and the city council needs to approve it for it to begin construction. And so we will, and almost always, support these housing projects by saying yes, we would like housing.
How do you promote your movement? I mean, where are you findable? Do you have a site?
We have a website, www.santacruzyimby.org, and we have Facebook and Twitter, and also a mailing list.
Okay.
Or email list.
Well, thanks for being here on the panel. Again, I'm just doing this kind of stream of conversation, but we happen to have next to you a social media expert and consultant. So, Parisa, you're basically a marketing consultant. You graduated with a degree in that. So tell us a little bit about how you would approach a campaign, or somebody like a campaign like YIMBY would be helped by somebody with your services.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because as you were talking, I was thinking about that. I've actually been approached by one other sort of advocacy group that wants and needs help with social media. And so when you didn't mention Instagram, I instantly thought, well, we got to get you on that because it's really powerful. And yeah, I just definitely see that there's a need for social media, and it's awesome because it can be used in business to profit, but it can also be used in advocacy and things like that. it's a powerful tool, and it connects people in ways that, you know, just mailing and regular old mail can't do. And it helps you create a culture around your business or around your movement that you're trying to get out to people, and you have control over that, which I think is really powerful. So yeah, when he was sitting here, I was thinking it would be a great thing to really focus on that, and people can hear what you're trying to do, and they hear it quickly, fast, and, you know, on a bigger level than just old ways of doing things.
Well, and I think you're also a case study of a young professional starting out and directly experiencing the high cost of housing. So how's that in this town for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm graduating in 2 weeks, and a lot of my friends graduated last year, and the option of buying a home or even moving out of our parents' homes, it's not even really a discussion. And I think that for my parents' generation and before that, you know, moving out was definitely something you did. Even before, you know, you moved off to college, or after college, graduating, getting a job, and moving out and buying a home or renting was a feasible thing. And it's just not even a topic of conversation until you're, you know, well established in your job. And I mean, to live in Santa Cruz, you have to be making a significant amount of money to be able to afford to rent, and buying isn't even. Buying
It's
isn't
off in the
even an
future
option,
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because what you do could be done anywhere in the world. So one argument might be said to start out in Colorado, for example, or somewhere else, and then come back here. But then again, who wouldn't want to live here?
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
I love my community, and that's one reason I didn't instantly decide to just go get a job over the hill and start making, you know, more money there, because I think Santa Cruz is an awesome community, and it has a very diverse population, and it's changing rapidly, but it's also still, you know, the same too. So I want to be here helping local agents and helping local people in their businesses.
And speaking of local agents, Peter Cook happens to be one of the major property managers in town, handles a lot of student housing amongst other things, and has a good reputation as being the guy that finds a fair way to deal with all this. So what's your take on the current state of the cost of rental housing, and what are your opinions on some of the solutions like rent control that are being put forth?
Well, thank you, Donna. Santa Cruz is definitely heavily impacted in a way that's really almost, I think, no other city in the U.S. is, with the pressure of the university adding so many more students, even though we are beyond full already. Silicon Valley is just firing on all cylinders. I heard there's going to be $1 trillion in repatriated money coming to Silicon Valley this year with the new tax plan. So that's Apple money, Google money, and those people love the beach, and Santa Cruz is the closest beach. And so from so many different directions, we're getting amazing pressures on our housing market. And the thing that concerns me is people have launched this initiative thinking that they're going to create a solution, but they never talk to anybody that's a housing economist, someone that's a real estate broker, even anyone that's even hardly a housing provider. They think that by putting this sort of price cap that they're going to fix the problem. And so they have something called the Movement for Housing Justice. And what I've been trying to explain to these people gathering signatures is they really are the movement for housing gentrification. Because what's going to happen, and it's already happening in my business, I have more listings than I've ever had in my life, and I see a pipeline of those for a long ways here. People are going to sell the rentals, and those rentals are going mostly to out-of-area buyers. And right now I have 3 places pending for sale. All 3 of the buyers are coming from San Jose area and outbidding local people.
And they're going to occupy, not rent them?
And some of them they're going to occupy. Yeah, of the ones I have up right now, I was counting, it's about 20% are going to be owner-occupied that were rentals. But I have several more that are like single-family rentals. People are bailing because they don't like the environment. That will almost for sure go owner-occupied. And so there's just not going to be housing for someone that's grown up and lived here. I mean, I would argue that it's better that there's at least an expensive option versus no option for people. And so that's why I think that this initiative, even though it's well-intentioned, is really going to be a disaster for renters in Santa Cruz.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. Danette, so you're a stager and a designer. How do you figure into the discussion on housing affordability? What's your opinion? How are you personally vested?
Well, as a renter, but as also a longtime resident of Santa Cruz, I mean, it's kind of the same thing for me. I have some friends who have properties and have kind of grandfathered themselves into the system of the Santa Cruz property market. But
What do you mean by grandfathered in?
well, in the sense that to have bought 20 or 30 years ago, like Nita was saying, she bought 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Anybody who, I mean, a house
got
22 years ago, I mean, we can't even exponentially talk about that growth factor, right? Where the median price range now for housing is to buy is in the 900,000.
And I think it was about 250 back then.
Right.
I was starting out in 93. That sticks in my mind.
Right. So 20, 30 years ago, the market was just a different price point. But also there's no property available. There aren't many places that are available. If you look at our stock in Santa Cruz, and I think that is one of the things. I just staged a house in the Pleasure Point area, and it's a cute little place, but it's got a giant yard. It's zoned for ADU. It's all ready to go, and it's a walk to the beach. So probably someone from the Silicon Valley who can just come in and overbid the place will be able to.
Maybe it's a second or third home even.
Maybe it's a second or third home, and so I guess I feel slightly discouraged because local people that do work hard and have been a part of this community and don't want to leave the community don't have as great of an option to be able to stay here.
I think one of the main counter-arguments to rent control is that it doesn't provide any extra housing. And the city, I went to the State of the City address, it was last month, and it does look like the city is taking active steps. They have 11 approved projects and 8 under construction of fairly large multiple housing developments. The latest thing we're talking about, Owen Lawler is talking about at the corner where the Taco Bell is, that block is slated for 350 units. They're talking about 6 stories. I think the latest Swenson at 555 Pacific ended up getting 5 stories. So I imagine it's a little bit sandbagged, but still, if they get 300 units there, I think Barry Swenson at the other end is doing 170 housing units on the old the Lau property. So it looks like there is some agreement, at least at the legislative level, on that approach. And I think the big divide is opinions on the rent control. And the city council declared a state of emergency. They used essentially their police powers to put a freeze while the city considers whether or not rent control is going to be a good thing. And I guess the last person on the panel who hasn't spoken so far, we have Captain. Well, I don't know if you consider yourself a captain first and foremost or a realtor, but John Rivera, do you care to share your perspective on this?
Yes, actually, I'm first and foremost a realtor and have been a captain for most of my life.
From the Chardonnay.
Chardonnay here in town, yeah. So I get to see Santa Cruz from the water a lot. I get to meet a lot of different walks of life, people coming from out of the area, and then also I'd say 50% of the people that come out on the boat are also from Santa Cruz. So I've met a lot of interesting folks in a lot of different places in our community over the years. And I really see that, it's, I mean, we've all just said it, so there's a big housing shortage. I know the rent control is based on the city limits of Santa Cruz, but throughout the whole county, the prices have gone to the point where people that have not gotten in the housing market early on, then they're basically priced out. And certainly I have young kids, so I can't help but to think, okay, am I going to have to step up and throw down big down payments to help them get into properties? Or are they just never going to move out? Or do they have to relocate to other communities that are more affordable? And so being part of the community, I want to see the local people be able to have affordable housing. And then it brings up another issue of like when you continue to construct or build more units, there's the whole water issue. I mean, that's something that, how sustainable is it? And does it all happen with infill, or do you try and create more subdivisions and build in areas that are not currently developed or improved? So it's a pretty complex issue to how to create more affordable housing. I think the rent control, it appears, and I'm not that educated on it, I'm definitely learning a lot as we go along through this motion with this happening here in Santa Cruz, but other communities that have adopted it seem to have less units that come on at a higher price if you look at Berkeley and San Francisco as examples. So that being said, it may very well backfire, and we have so many properties that are being purchased from money from Silicon Valley, and it's coming over here, and then we have, like was mentioned, second homes, all these homes that are sitting vacant majority of the year. And so therefore we don't have local people living in those homes or having access to them. And so the more and more that happens, it just seems to rule out affordable housing for our local community.
So I guess since we have a panel of somewhat random sampling, how many people on the panel are in favor or believe rent control is a good solution? Maybe Nita? And then we have 6. Okay, so you're a little bit out.
I would like to say that our group, Santa Cruz YIMBY, and for that matter, California YIMBY, we do not have any position on rent control or Costa-Hawkins.
The supply.
We are neutral on that issue.
Okay.
I have to say certain aspects of rent control, I mean, putting a cap on astronomical rents for people that just need basic affordable housing makes sense. I think that the just cause and some of the factors in there are way out of skew. So how do you find a balance or a solution to the problem that is, countywide?
Well, it's been suggested that the current ordinance, even some people on the inside who are friends, I mean, we hold different political views, but I have clients and friends who are on the other side, and we have very lively discussions about this, and I've heard expressed some concern on their part that this one is a little too extreme, that there's some likelihood that it won't pass, and there's been some discussion perhaps of maybe a more toned down one. But I think regardless, I think it took things. Revolution happens when the discontent pendulum swings past a certain point, and I think we're certainly there. And this discussion wouldn't be happening if Housing Justice hadn't put forth this essentially a cry for help. There's many other cries for help. You can see the tent encampments by the highway. We don't know where it's going to end up, but I guess, Nita, since we started this discussion with you, why don't you share what your vision is of what you're looking to achieve?
Well, it's been a real learning experience, and I feel like the more people like having this conversation beforehand, like Brian suggested, and I've knocked on a lot of doors because I've been gathering signatures for the petition, and I've just talked to all sorts of people on all sides of the issue, and what I feel like comes out for me and I would like to advocate is, all of us hopefully have a need and a desire to see our community work.
Yeah.
And, I was raised by my mother to take care of people and to make sure that people were not suffering. I can't sit by and go, well, I'm sorry, but this place just isn't affordable for you and you're just gonna have to leave. People that have been here forever, so I would like to see something happen, and if everybody else comes from a good-hearted place, I think we can figure out something that works. And I don't think it has to be one or the other, and I really don't want to see people divide into camps and go, yell and scream at each other and make accusations. To me, that's not what it's about. It's about if we really want our community to work. I've been here 38 years, you've been here, you grew up, whatever.
Same.
We have an investment in Santa Cruz working, and people on the street are not working. I mean, people homeless, that's not working. Community's not working if there's a lot of people on the street. So I would like to see people come together from different viewpoints and try to hammer this thing out, get the city council behind us to come up with a better ordinance that property owners and landlords can say, well, I can get behind that, because I've talked to a lot of landlords who say, I'm in support of rent control, and property owners too, but I'm not in support of the just cause part. So, okay, we'll come together and let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's not just get into camps and go, no, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to talk to you. You're my enemies. Well,
I think there's concern that the current ordinance really crosses property rights, and it's a taking of sorts. And so, a lot of my clients have called me in a absolute panic, and I always tell people panic's not a good place to start, and let's get some more facts.
Get some facts.
And I've had to talk several clients, and it's not good business sense for me to talk people out of listing their property, but I told them basically, let's wait and see how this thing pans out. Do you know where you are in terms of? I think you needed how many signatures you needed? Do you know where you are on that count?
Yeah, we're closing the signature gathering this week, and we're there
At about 9,000, or what was? Okay.
And the thing that we're at a point where we can encourage the city council to write their own ordinance, to write an ordinance that works better and put it on the ballot.
Parallel So whether or not you get
Whether
yours
or
on,
not- if
there
we
might,
get ours
there might
on-
be two. What if both pass?
I don't think they would.
Well, they're probably not.
And I think that if they put something on that represented a broader view and took into account some of the concerns that people have, I think there'd be a really good chance it would pass, and it would help a lot of people.
Yeah,
Especially if Costa-Hawkins gets repealed, which would be great, in my opinion.
There's differing opinions on that too, because Costa-Hawkins, if I'm not mistaken, was passed after 15 years of rent control, virtually ruining the markets for renters in predominantly the Bay Area, Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, and because there was no new construction of any apartments being done. And they had over 10,000 tenancies in common, essentially where you have these ownership groups come in and kick out all the tenants. And then there's differing opinions on that. Some think actually it would be the perfect storm if Costa-Hawkins passed, and the perfect, not in the good sense, and rent control. So I like the idea of a tone down. I think a lot of property owners are in the conversation for something that's truly just for everybody, because everyone's been a tenant at some point. The property owners of this town, I think, have come by their properties honestly. I don't think you were given any of your properties, Peter. And fortunately, many of the people on the panel got in when there was time to. So thank you all for joining. It always amazes me how quickly 25 minutes goes by. Once again, I'm Dada Calza, broker owner of Main Street Realtors, and we look forward to having you join us for our next discussion.
Brian Schulman, thanks for watching the BTS Presents show.
I'm Dada Calza, broker and owner of Main Street Realtors. Thanks for joining us.